The next is from Hughie.
All right.
Okay, you know what? You know what I was saying? I kind of defended this guy a little bit against your slanderous attacks against him, Conan. But the subject is Kevin Nash versus AEW marks. The first two sentences here, I'm going to retract my praise for Husey. Okay,
Right.
here's the first two sentences. Hey guys, my name is Disco Inferno and Icewall Oakham.
What?
So
Wait. What does that even mean?
Icewall Oakham?
Yeah.
Who is that?
I don't get it.
So anyway, a few days ago, the great Kevin Nash, who like me is taller and more jacked than Disco, plus we're both NWO members.
Being an NWO fluff boy doesn't actually make you a member, but here you go.
Went on Twitter to point that the brawl that ended the last AEW Dynamite episode maybe wasn't the greatest brawl of all time. So, of course, the AEW fat marks with their girly voices and fat bodies and fake Twitter followers and man tits went crazy on Nash.
You mean
So
like you?
No. So my question...
Like him.
So my question, was Nash correct in his criticism of AEW? Also, do you think that AEW marks are the worst marks out there? I mean, why can't they just accept that maybe someone just doesn't like the product? P.S. Joe and Conan, tell Daniel Cormier that Disco was talking shit about him.
Well, that's not accurate.
I'm gonna give. You know what? I'm gonna give 4 Pinocchios. I'm giving 4 Pinocchios to Hughie's email here. Did you read the stuff where Nash was going back and forth with where Nash tweeted at Cody?
Yeah.
The attention to the devil's in the details.
So,
basically, Nash was ripping the details in that angle. Like if Jericho bought a ticket, how's he have a mic? He was being like he was just saying like you guys need to pay attention to the details, right? So of course the AEW marks everyone was like ripping Nash, and then Nash said that.
Well, let me just say real quick. What initially started was kind of it was a minute detail where if Jericho, how did Jericho get a microphone in the box if he was talking shit about a company VP? Wouldn't Cody just shut the mic off? And that was kind of Nash's point. It was small, but it was his perspective, and then people kind of came out against him for that because they were supporting AEW, you know.
Yeah.
But.
No, well, you could say I don't know, bro. I mean, I don't think that's a real big deal, you know.
I didn't think it was a real big deal either, but they do. They're not a lot of attention to detail so far on that show, you know. So it's like, I mean, you can see the work. You know, they're doing some like. There's just a little bit too much for some of the moves.
Yeah.
You know, you can't. I'll say this. I thought this was ridiculous. Okay, the Bucks in their match against the who they were the best friends.
Last week, yeah.
Last okay. The spot to go to the hot tag, not the hot tag, but to go home. They put one of the Jacksons up on a guy's shoulders, and the guy got on the top rope. And you know how the Road Warriors do the clothesline? They flip the guy over.
The Doomsday Device.
The Doomsday Device. So instead of the Doomsday Device, the clothesline, one of the guys jumped off the top rope with a flying knee and kneed the Jackson kid, as opposed to clothesline him. But this is details to me, and this is like to me this looks ridiculous. He knees him, and the kid flips over, but he lands on his feet and starts his comeback. He no-sold it.
Right.
I'm like, that's you could do that in Mexico because that's lucha. There's a lot of stuff flying, land on your feet. But bro, it's like this is American style wrestling. You can't just out of nowhere do like a no-sell spot for a devastating move like that and start a comeback. So it's like, they're not tight on the details yet, but they may change. They're brothers. It's only been
well, you gotta hope. You gotta hope that their agent after the match said, "Hey, don't do that again," or
right.
These young bucks. You know what I'm saying? They've got to police their own shit too, because these are young guys from the indies where that's probably normal.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
As I say, yeah. Well, the indie stuff doesn't work on the main stage. Indie wrestling is in front of 200-300 fans.
Right.
Mainstream wrestling is in front of millions and hundreds of thousands of millions of people that are scrutinizing what they're seeing because not a lot of people are watching it. So when they're tuning in, you got to be like kind of got to be perfect on most stuff there. You're not going to be perfect, but you kind of like are thinking like, hey, my match needs to look as real as possible. That's good work,
Right.
I've got,
like I say, like here's the thing. Conan, probably at his age, can't go out there and like work a match like he used to or anything. But when Conan and Vampiro were trading punches with each other, it looked real. You know what I'm saying? It's like so it's like, so your little spot that you had on TV, you made every minute of it look real, which is what all these guys should be doing on TV. And if you think a spot might look hokey to people, I would say don't do that. There's a million other things you do in a match. Just don't do the spot that looks like it could look hokey just because you can do it. You know what I'm saying? So that'd be my advice.
When I get texts from like lapsed fans and they're giving AEW a chance, right? Wrestling's back on TNT and they know that I do the shows and whatever. So they'll reach out to me and tell me what they think about the shows. I got more complaints last week about the Lucha Bros versus Private Party and Orange Cassidy than anything I have since the show's been on the air. A lot of, at least four or five friends of mine, totally unrelated, just text me and going, this first match, it looks way too choreographed. It doesn't look real. It looks the ref's not enforcing rules. What's going on? It's all flips and stuff like that. And that's not in their fan base bubble. It's people trying to give it a chance.
It's constructive criticism. It's what it should be. Because like if you tell, hey, some of your fans are looking at it like this. Yeah. Or maybe you should do something because you have your fans that go to watch regardless. You have other people watching and they're looking at the matches and this is what they're seeing. Maybe just don't do that stuff. Stick to the stuff that like would get the new fans to continue to watch.
So they were mad in one match because it looked choreographed, and what else?
Orange Cassidy was just like what the hell is this supposed to be?
The people watch that and they see the fans in the crowd reacting to them, and they're just still not getting it. Right. It's like because they don't really know anything about the guy.
I just almost think, that you've seen the lucha influence in American wrestling. That's why you see so many dives, and that's why you see so many choreographed spots, because when guys are going up in the business, they were like, all right, even though it's a safer style, and they're looking at, whatever Nash and Hogan and the top guys are doing, then they're watching the underneath guys, and they're going, fuck, I want to do that. Yeah. And a lot of young people were influenced by that, and a lot of wrestlers, and now that style's kind of permeated American wrestling. Yeah. And one of the bad things about Mexican wrestling for Americans is that it looks choreographed, okay, and the other one is the just like you said, the ref doesn't really have a whole lot of say in a lucha match.
Yeah, but here's the thing too. But this is one thing you will notice if you look at it, is if you watched old 20 years ago, even though it was lucha, and when it came into WCW, right, and we were like looking like a lot of the old school guys go, wow, we weren't looking at it going like, oh my God, this is
because you had guys that taught them like Dean Malenko and Jericho and Eddie Guerrero that even though they were young, they were like young generals.
Not even that.
Yeah.
You had the lucha guys come in that grew up from the first day of training, had been doing lucha for their whole career. Okay? Right. And back then, as we've expanded a lot of the stuff that lucha guys are doing. They were doing pretty basic lucha, which still looked crazy compared to like a lot of the wrestling we did. But it never really looked like phony or choreographed. You're like, wow, these guys are just doing, because they were more solid in their work. The guys sold more. They just grew up and trained better than like the guys today.
Because in Mexico, they were wrestling veterans that would tell them, hey, do it this way. But when they came here, they had young veterans. Like, Jericho was way ahead of his time. Malenko was way ahead of his time. Yeah. Eddie was way ahead of his time, And so they were like, okay, when you do this, stop here. Let's make it look, and Juventud and Ray and Psychosis, they listened, right? Right. But now you don't have a lot of those teachers around anymore.
Right.
It's just young guys teaching young guys,
and they're doing lucha with indie guys, right. And that's what, guys that learn lucha on the indies never really trained lucha. Like a lot of American wrestlers never trained lucha. They just kind of like started doing it because of WrestleLucha. And you can see the difference in the details. The lucha guy, Ray, Hoobie, Psychosis, Garge, and all, they were way snugger than these guys are.
Parka.
The guys today are very. They are very choreographed, helping each other, but like the lucha back then was very snug and stiff. They hit each other, chop the shit out of each other. It was like it wasn't like it wasn't like it is today. It's different, So